This is my audience. Hi, I'm Emily Ramey, and this is my persuasive speech. Have you ever been to a football game and it got boring? What do you typically do when a football game or a basketball game gets boring? You watch the cheerleaders or the dancers, the spirit groups, right? So I have cheered since I was 4 years old. I cheered competitively until I was 15, and now I am currently on Louisiana Tech cheerleading team. Ever since I began cheerleading, it has never really got the recognition it deserves. It's never been considered a sport. Growing up, like, people would laugh and when I would say that it was a sport, even though like we practice just as much as other sports and it is just as physical as other sports. And so I am going, in my speech today, I am going to explain how and why cheerleading should be considered an NCAA sport and how it would benefit everyone in the community and on campus as a collegiate sport. I'm sure you have been to many events on campus where cheerleaders have been there, even if it's not a game, such as pep rallies and just other on-campus events, fundraising, volunteer service opportunities. Cheerleaders are often required to be at things like that. If cheerleading is considered an NCAA sport, they will get way more funding than they get right now. And they will be able to be more successful and more involved on campus and many other things. So in my speech, I'm going to go over what is considered a sport. I'm going to go over the behind the scenes activities that cheerleaders do that you may not know. And I will also be going over exactly what the Louisiana Tech cheerleaders currently receive money-wise, and how you can help. So the first thing is, by definition, a sport has physical exertion and it is competitive. So physically, cheerleaders throw each other in the air, they tumble, they yell while they're doing all of this, they hold people up in the air. It is a very physical sport and it requires a lot of training and working out and practice. So check, it is physical. And then the second thing, by definition, to be considered a sport is it must be competitive. So you must be competing against others, or individually or as a team. And many cheerleading collegiate teams, they go to UCA Nationals. And so for UCA Nationals, there are 2 divisions that you can compete in. The first division is what Tech Cheer competes in, and that is the game day division. So for game day, you compete your fight song, you compete a chant, and you compete a timeout routine. This is all back to back, and it ends up being 3 to 4 minutes long. And while training for this, the Tech cheerleaders do not get to go home for Thanksgiving, but 3 days. Same thing with Christmas. We are practicing 2 days, or 2 practices a day during those breaks, and when we are not on break, we are practicing 4 days a week for this. So it is very time consuming to practice for this. The second division is the traditional division, and if you have watched the Netflix show Cheer, then that is what they are competing in. So that is tumbling stunts, pyramids, baskets, and a dance at the end, all in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is very difficult to do all of that in 2 minutes and 30 seconds and do it well. And so if you watch Netflix Cheer, that is what they're doing. So right now I'm going to insert a video of the Tech cheerleaders and some of their physical activities they do. So here it is. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is some of the behind-the-scenes activities that collegiate cheerleaders are required to go to. And so these include activities like Night to Shine, Special Olympics, back-to-school nights, reading to schools, many Lincoln Parish Park events, 5Ks, and a lot of other just service opportunities around campus that we are required to go to. Now, this is specifically Louisiana Tech, but I know like other colleges, their cheerleaders are also required to go to events like this. And so on top of school, practice, working out, and a lot of us have jobs because you'll hear in a second we don't get very many scholarships. We are doing all these extra events and have to get ready for them and take time out to do this. So this just shows a little bit of how much cheerleaders are involved where you might not even see it. If you walk around campus on any given day, a lot of the times you will see a cheerleader in uniform or their practice clothes selling stuff or helping out a different club. They are just involved in a lot of different many ways that other sports or activities on campus are not required to be involved in. Now I'm going to talk about what Louisiana Tech cheerleaders specifically currently get, like money-wise, funding-wise, and all of the above. So to start with, we get a scholarship of $1,000 a quarter, and this is a housing scholarship. So to get the housing scholarship, you must live on campus. So I do not live on campus. I lived on campus my freshman year, so I got this scholarship. But I do not live on campus anymore, so I do not receive any type of scholarship for being a Tech cheerleader. The ones that do live on campus, they get $1,000 a quarter to go towards their housing, which, if you know, that doesn't cover all of the housing unless you live in the traditional dorms, which it will cover the traditional dorms, but anything else it will not cover your housing. We also are given a quarterly stipend, and this stipend ranges from $150 a quarter to $250 a quarter, and the amount depends on how long you have been on the cheer team. So I am a third year, and so I get $200 each quarter, which, if you think about it, it's not very much for what we are doing on campus. Another thing is, you may not know that the cheerleaders are completely self-funded. Since we are not an NCAA sport, we have to do our own fundraising for everything, for uniforms, for practice gear, for signs, for traveling, for going to UCA Nationals that I talked about, to getting flights, to getting hotel rooms, competition fees. Everything is completely self-funded, so we do tons of fundraisers. You can see them by following our Instagram. We always post when we are doing fundraisers. So since we are completely self-funded, a lot of our time has to go outside of practice and asking for sponsorships from businesses, asking people to buy raffle tickets or whatever fundraiser we are doing that month. So a lot of time has to be taken to get funding that if we were an NCAA sport, then we would get funding similar to what like the football players get. Probably not as much, but we would still get some funding, and that maybe we would not have to fund everything ourselves, and we could be a little bit more successful in our practice time. We would also be able to go to more away games, because right now, since we go to UCA Nationals, which is in Disney World, which is very expensive to get there, we only travel to one away football game a year due to funding. And if we had some funding from NCAA, we'd be able to go to more and just support the teams and do what we're supposed to do more successfully. And so how you can help with this is, anytime you see a fundraiser that we're doing, you can help. Even if you don't have the money to actually buy a raffle ticket or participate in what we're doing, you can always repost the post that we post on Instagram or Facebook. That would help us tremendously. And also, last year, Tech had a student vote for a bill to be, or a fee to be passed. That tremendously would have helped the cheerleaders. We would get our own facility to practice in and not have to practice in the Lambright, which is public. And it got it got denied, so it didn't pass. So if there's ever a fee like that is getting voted on again, voting yes would tremendously help. It would only be like, I don't know, $10 extra to your tuition, and it would help us so much. So that's another way you can help. So concluding, and to summarize all of this, I talked about the definition of a sport and how cheerleading is by definition a sport, the behind the scenes activities that we do that is a little bit more of a time constraint than other activities that are considered an NCAA sport. And I also talked about what specifically tech cheerleaders get sponsorship wise or scholarship wise, and how you can help. And so I just want y'all to think about, if there was a football game or a pep rally and cheerleaders weren't there, like, it would really impact the crowd and the team a lot. And so if we could get a little bit more support and help, then everything would be a little bit more successful for the cheerleaders. Thank you for listening.